We started in 1919 in Springfield, Massachusetts. An answer to the questions raised by a changing world, where people moving from the farms to the cities lacked the skills and support needed to find their way forward. We endured through the Great Depression. We grew nationally with the expansion of the interstate highway system, and globally with the advent of the jet age. As the economy moved from manufacturing to service, we entered the nation's classrooms. We were one of the first organizations to bring computers into schools and ran global business simulations years before the creation of the World Wide Web. Internationally, we persevered through the changing tides of history, offering hope in the townships of South Africa in defiance of apartheid, helping to rebuild lives in Eastern Europe after the fall of the Berlin Wall, giving young entrepreneurs the tools to navigate emerging economies around the world, and empowering young women in the face of those who would seek to marginalize them. We have endured depressions, recessions, wars, conflicts, and apathy. We have reached 100 million people and have helped them become more likely to finish school, earn a degree, start a business, and escape poverty. Our efforts have been lauded by educators, universities, CEOs, and world leaders, and most importantly, by those whose lives we have helped change for the better. Now we begin our next chapter. In 2019, we are turning 100. And while we honor our history, it's important to note that we view it as the foundation for our future. Today, 60% of employers say recent graduates lack basic job skills. 90% of businesses fail in the first 5 years, and 72% of Americans say they struggle with money-related stress. Our goal is to ensure that the next generation is 100% ready to take on the world. Some may say this is work better left to those that are younger, newer to the scene, more innovative. But you don't make it this long without being innovative, adaptable, and open to life-changing ideas. Because when you start marking your age in centuries, it doesn't make you old. It makes you timeless.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Junior Achievement of Chicago's 37th Annual Business Hall of Fame. I'm so excited you're here. My name is Shiloh Cummings, and I'm a third grade student at Goethe Elementary School in Chicago. I have the privilege of introducing two esteemed JA board members and our event co-chairs to open tonight's program. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Mr. Dave Casper, U.S. CEO of BMO Financial Group, and Mr. Scott Santee, Chairman and CEO of ITW.
With all due respect to our laureates, that was the best thing that's going to happen tonight. Shiloh, thank you. You were outstanding. Let's hear it for Shiloh. I was here a little bit earlier and I heard the rehearsals, and I think she has, and Ed, you close your ears, I think she has a knack for banking, and I think we're going to move her over to BMO.
Well, I think that's pretty interesting, Dave, but I was talking to Shiloh earlier, and she was telling me about a recent JA class she had and where she learned all about manufacturing. And then she tried to negotiate a signing bonus from me, so I think we got one up on you.
So she is learning the basics that we teach at JA very early. Wherever you land in the future, though, you're going to do great, Shiloh, and I know you'll be successful. That's why we're so proud to be partners with JA. Their programs positively address the key issues in your development: the workforce readiness and financial literacy.
And the secret sauce to JA's impact is the volunteers who deliver the programs. Dave, last year alone, employees from BMO and ITW impacted over 5,500 students in 70 schools with over 200 volunteers.
So we're absolutely delighted here tonight to welcome and induct 3 great people into the Chicago JA Business Hall of Fame: Susan Crown, Tom Ricketts, and Ed Wehmer. All 3 are accomplished business leaders as well as civic leaders. They've been fantastic, they're wonderful, and they have exceptional stories which you're going to hear about later on. Tonight's event is made possible by our generous sponsors. We received fantastic support from our platinum, gold, and silver sponsors, individual ticket holders. We want to thank all of you for tonight, all of you tonight's donors. Please join me and Scott in thanking all of them.
Junior Achievement also owes a special thanks to our Blue Ribbon panel of former laureates, whose ongoing support is key to JA's success. Now it gives me great pleasure to introduce our MC for the evening, Taman Bradley. Mr. Bradley is a proud Chicago native and a graduate of Howard University in Washington, D.C. He is an anchor of WGN Evening News and WGN News at 9 on Saturdays and Sundays. Mr. Bradley is also the station's political reporter. Please help me in welcoming Taman.
Thank you, gentlemen. Can I get a loan? Yes. What a good-looking group. Having fun? Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you again, Dave and Scott. I'm excited to be here tonight for the Chicago Business Hall of Fame. 2019 also happens to coincide with Junior Achievement's 100-year anniversary of the national organization. So tonight is very exciting for all of us. Tonight we share the stories of 3 exceptional laureates: Miss Susan Crown, Mr. Thomas Ricketts, and Mr. Edward Wehmer. This is a very special group, not only because of the impact they have had on our community, but because of the lessons they can teach us about setting goals, being a business pioneer, and achievement through teamwork. And we are very lucky tonight to have the opportunity to hear their own personal philosophies on success and advice for future generations. JA has been honoring the most distinguished business leaders of Chicago since 1983, and has provided over 170 laureates with the honor of being inducted into the Hall of Fame. And this evening is a tribute to all they have done to help create Chicago's history and to make it such a great place to conduct business. I am pleased to see former inductees here with us to support this new class of 2019. Thanks for being here. And we have 3 very talented young speakers here to tell each laureate's story this evening. Each student was specifically chosen as a model of ambition and achievement, mirroring the images of who we will be inducting tonight. And now it is time to bring up our first student speaker, Amina Ayed. She will tell the story of Susan Crown. But first, a little bit about Amina. She is a college freshman at Lewis University, where she is studying to become an oral surgeon. Her favorite subject in school is human communication. And in her free time, she enjoys reading thriller novels, watching classic movies, playing volleyball, and volunteering. Amina graduated from Uxa High School and was a 2019 Colonial Henry Crown Scholarship recipient. Each year, the Crown Family Philanthropies partners with Junior Achievement of Chicago to award 4 exceptional high school seniors with a $40,000 scholarship to attend an accredited college or university of his or her choice. Susan played a pivotal role in developing the scholarship and its criteria, and she is a champion of the program with her family and the Crown Family Foundation. Along with financial support, the Crown Scholarship also provides a paid summer internship with a Crown-affiliated company or agency. Amina will start her internship next summer. We're very proud of you. Please welcome to the stage Amina Ayad.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. It is my pleasure to introduce Susan Crown. Susan is a business executive and philanthropist with a proven track record for getting things done. Raised in the suburbs of Chicago, the 5th of 7 children, Susan has always said that her active, sometimes chaotic, household taught her the valuable life lessons that she has now. Her parents, Renee and Lester Crown, taught by example how to balance family, work, and commitment to the community. From her upbringing, Susan learned how to focus, how to find her own voice, and how to stay true to herself and her beliefs. Susan's early experiences shaped her approach to business, philanthropy, and life. Her first job at a supermarket deli taught her the value of a strong work ethic, even if it involved things that frightened her, like a slicing machine. In her 20s, she counseled people struggling with addiction, which expanded her perspective and taught her about real challenges people face and the value of understanding others and demonstrating compassion. Today, it's Susan's incredible work ethic and passion for giving back that has set her apart. As a partner of Henry Crown and Company, which her grandfather Henry founded from next to nothing nearly a century ago, she helped steward a large and growing family enterprise. She spent a decade on the board of Baxter International and was the first woman to serve as director of Illinois Tool Works. Today, Susan is chair of Owl Creek Partners, an investment firm that prioritizes educational technology and women-led businesses. She also proudly serves on the boards of the Wintrust Corporation, Illinois Tool Works, Brookings Institution, and Chicago's own Rush University Medical Center. But Susan applies deep analysis and strategic thinking to all of her endeavors, commercial or nonprofit. While at Henry Crown and Company, Susan invested more than 25 years transforming her family's ad hoc charitable program into a professional foundation. Under Susan's tenure, projects supported by her family ranged from the Crown Fountain in Millennium Park, the Space Center at the Museum of Science and Industry, and at the same time, arts and education and principal training in Chicago Public Schools, maternal health in Sierra Leone, and environmental stewardship in both the American West and our own Lake Michigan. 10 years ago, Susan founded the Susan Crown Exchange, an effort dedicated to preparing youth to thrive in a rapidly changing world. She also co-chaired the Yale campaign, which restored outdated facilities at her alma mater. She served for 12 years at Care USA, an organization that works around the globe to save lives, defeat poverty, and achieve social justice. She chaired the National Conference on Global Poverty, which led to substantive action on U.S. policies on the topic of child marriage. And she chaired Steven Spielberg's Showa Visual History Foundation, which collected, tagged, and created educational material from over 40,000 testimonies of Holocaust survivors, testimony that had previously never been seen or heard. But above all, Susan treasures her time with her family. Susan has been married to William C. Kunkel III since 1981. They have 2 adult children, Nicholas and Caitlin, and as of last September, added Nicholas's wife Carly to the clan. They gather frequently in Chicago and in Colorado. They are close-knit, and their favorite thing is to travel and explore the world together. Susan describes herself as one of the luckiest people in the world. someone who has been offered incredible opportunities to make the world a bit better. She's taken advantage of these amazing opportunities with passion, purpose, and gratitude. Please join me in welcoming Susan Crown to the stage.
Thank you, Amina. You could have stopped at the 5th of 7 children. Really. I wasn't half that poised at 17, so it's pretty impressive. It's exciting to be the first third-generation inductee and to be the very first granddaughter to join this illustrious group. I'm honored to follow in the footsteps of my grandfather, Henry, and my dad, Lester, who made a day like this and the life I've been blessed to live completely possible. While following in their footsteps, I'm compelled to let you know I wear much prettier shoes. I have 3 minutes at the podium. That's enough time to thank a few people and convey an important message. The thank yous. Great thanks to JA for literally opening the aperture on the world for millions of kids. There's no more important work. A ton of wonderful friends have turned out on this Tuesday night, and I'm grateful for that. My colleagues at SCE are here, probably right around the bar. They are simply the best. And all 3 of my kids, Caitlin, Nicholas, and his bride, Carly, and my husband, Will, and my parents, Les and Renee, took trains, planes, and automobiles to attend, and they provide the support that fuels me, particularly the kids who always keep it real. Now, if you'll indulge me, I'd like to address the younger people here this evening. I want to talk a little bit about leadership. When I began my career, I was surprised to learn that more often than not, I was the only woman in the room. There just weren't female role models or support systems or mentors. Some amazing leaders took me under their wings and taught and counseled me, but most were men I worked with on boards, and of course my dad, who opened up an entirely new world to me. I was lucky to have an exceptional and capable role model at home, my mother, who could and did command an army of 7 rambunctious kids. Now, scholars have been studying the topic of leadership for more than a century, but they can't agree what makes a leader great. They have reached consensus on a couple of things. Leadership is an extremely consequential force. Leadership styles have far-reaching social and environmental consequences. And by the year 2050, there'll no longer be a clear racial or ethnic majority in America, meaning heterogeneity is on the rise. Organizations are becoming less hierarchical and more dependent on complex knowledge-based tasks that require teams. In other words, leadership is going to look very different in the future than it did in the past. Now, a lot of research has been done on diversity and inclusion and the distinctions between male and female leadership. Bottom line, there's a whole lot of talk about this right now, but we're just at the beginning of walking the walk. The members of the next generation will need to lead us where we need to go. Traditional male leadership is described as loud. It's about taking risks. It's about being the hero, standing in the spotlight, ruling by control and command, galvanizing the workforce through sheer charisma. The quieter female traits associated with women are team building, showing empathy, being strong and vulnerable at the same time, connecting people and empowering others. You, the next generation, are going to assume responsibility for problems that have been generated by a world changing at warp speed. In fairness, our traditional male leadership, particularly the guys in government in Illinois, have done plenty to make sure the problems you'll inherit are absolute doozies. Without going too negative, here are just a few: an insolvent state budget, failing education, housing and transportation systems in disrepair, widening gaps between economic classes and ethnicities, and an increase in random violence. It's a long, pretty daunting list. On the positive side, though, Chicago has world-class people, world-class universities, premier cultural institutions, deep dish pizza, and of course, the Cubs. But I'm not going to steal any of your thunder, Tom. Here are some things we know about effective leadership now in 2019. Diversity is not just the right thing to do or a nice thing to say. It's actually a business imperative. Study after study shows that diverse boards and management teams perform on average 20% better than their counterparts. This indicates that the only way to build business solutions is to make sure there are lots of differing voices and views around the table. Insularity and sameness will no longer attract or retain best-in-class talent and is far more likely to curtail innovation and big thinking. The very best, most successful leaders combine traditional male traits with female traits. They take bold actions, but informed ones. They cultivate a sense of ownership and a sense of accountability. They build others up. They inspire people to be their best, and they revel in shining a light on the achievement of others. Strong leaders possess a complex mix of abilities, sometimes even contradictory ones. They're disruptive. They're also socially adept. They're heroic. They're also vulnerable. They connect teams while also galvanizing them with a common, clear sense of mission. And above all, they know that today's workforce demands a sense of purpose and meaning, as well as a sense of achievement. They must embody traits that help individuals and institutions, because in the end, every institution is just made up of people and personalities. So here's the punchline. I want you to know how happy I am that your generation is not constrained by traditional roles. You don't view each other as categories. You see each other's differences as an opportunity to learn and broaden perspectives. This strengthens my belief in you and in your capacity to help us progress. My generation continues to work hard, but I have no doubt you'll do better. That's the Chicago way, where the rising generation surpasses the current one. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. You certainly give us something to think about. Going to bring up our next student presenter. We'd ask that Sox fans look away. Our next student presenter is Darrell C. Hill, Jr., who will introduce Thomas Ricketts. Darrell is a junior at Gwendolyn Brooks College Preparatory Academy in Chicago. He's a leader in his class and has a grade point average of 3.8. His favorite subject in school is history. And after high school, Darrell hopes to attend West Point Military Academy. He is a student ambassador, volleyball manager, AP scholar, plays the tenor saxophone in advanced band, and is the catcher on his school's baseball team. Big important job on the diamond. Darrell is also one of the original team members who signed the main structural beam at the Pullman Community Center, a project that the Chicago Cubs supported. In addition to utilizing the space for baseball practices, Darryl also worked as an intern and camp counselor at the community center. So please welcome to the stage Darryl C. Hill, Jr.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. It is my pleasure to introduce Thomas Ricketts, Executive Chairman of the Chicago Cubs. Tom Ricketts was born on September 21st, 1965 at St. Mary's Hospital in Nebraska City, Nebraska. His mother, Marlene, grew up on a nearby farm, and his father, Joe, grew up in town, the son of a carpenter and contractor. Tom moved around as a baby and lived in several places before settling down in Omaha, Nebraska. Tom had a normal childhood. He attended public school where he primarily focused on refining his fashion taste and growing his hair long. Like many other kids, Tom played sports growing up, including several years of Little League baseball. He also played football throughout his freshman year of high school. As he went to high school, Tom realized his time would be better spent as captain of the debate team. Tom was also enrolled in Junior Achievement, where his company produced and sold trouble lights, which are flashlights with a hook on the top. Leaving Omaha for the big city, Tom entered the University of Chicago in 1983. While enrolled at UChicago, Tom received a well-rounded education. But Tom also developed a love for a certain baseball team in the north side of Chicago. Graduating with a degree in economics, Tom was a trader on the Chicago Board Options Exchange and later began pursuing an MBA at the University of Chicago. During this time, Tom met his wife, Cece, at the Wrigley Field bleachers. After receiving his MBA, Tom began a career in the bond world, and in 1999, founded a fixed income investment bank in Capital. In Capital, with the focus on bonds and other investments for individual investors, had been successful underwriting hundreds of billions of dollars of financial products. Tom was named Distinguished Young Alums by the University of Chicago's Graduate School of Business for his work at In Capital. He was also named Ernst & Young Midwest Entrepreneur of the Year. Throughout this time, Tom and Cece had 5 children. In 2009, Tom stepped down as CEO of In Capital to lead his family's purchase of the Chicago Cubs. On opening day in 2010, he sang the 7th inning stretch with his siblings. In 2016, the Cubs won the World Series for the first time in 108 years. They had one of the largest parades in human history. There was a huge crowd at Grant Park for the parade celebration. In 2017, Tom was named the Executive of the Year by Sports Business Journal. Tom and the Chicago Cubs have received multiple awards for the baseball organization, the renovation of Wrigley Field, the development of the neighborhood around Wrigley, and for charitable and community work throughout the city. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Thomas Ricketts to the stage.
Thank you, Darryl. Well done, particularly the Jersey part. We appreciate that. It was kind of hard putting this together, honestly. The JA called us and said, "Do you have 20 or 30 pictures that tell your life story?" Well, I looked around and I had no pictures of myself as a child, and I called my mom and she didn't really have any pictures of myself. And they're like, "Well, film was kind of expensive and we worked 2 jobs and we just never got a camera." So any case, I'm very, very fortunate that the schools took photos of us in Omaha, Nebraska. So I will always have that with me. And on to my speech. I would like to think I would put this all behind me, but apparently I still wear the same glasses. Well, so while there were almost no photos of me, my mother, being one of the best mothers of all time, did keep things for us. And a couple of years ago, she sent me a trunk full of my stuff. Now, the trunk was mostly filled with like stuff from my childhood, like clippings of Cornhusker games and elementary school drawings that showed an alarming lack of talent. But I found something in that trunk the other day, and it wasn't just my glasses from high school. It was, oops, this side, my certificate from junior achievement. I think as Daryl mentioned, I was in junior achievement in high school. Hard to believe this sporty young stud wasted time on such pursuits, but here's my certificate right here. My name is right here. I was VP of Marketing, although there's a little bit of whiteout here. I'm not sure if there was a typo or maybe some kind of managerial shift at the last minute, but when we built our trouble lights, and trouble lights are basically flashlights you can hook on the top of your hood of your car, because if you guys remember the day, people used to work on their cars. And we made $947.13 in top line, and we made $2.39 of profit. So I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, why did it take 38 years to get this guy in the JA Hall of Fame? Well, $2.39, I guess, and maybe by some standards that's not that great, but we were a startup, and we made profit in our first year, and we weren't quite to scale yet. We are proud of what we achieved. But junior achievement's really not about how much money you make. It's about what you teach kids who come through the process. And the lessons that you learn from being in junior achievement are worth a lot more than the $2.39. I would say, in fact, they really are invaluable, as you can apply those lessons to greater projects in your life and in the future. So it is with great appreciation that I'm here tonight to accept this award and the Business Hall of Fame from Junior Achievement. So I'm going to take these off now. There's not even a glass in here, it's just great. So first of all, I would like to acknowledge and congratulate my co-honorees this evening. Susan, of course, for all the great business success and incredible philanthropic life you've led. The city is fortunate, and indeed the world is fortunate to have people like you leading projects all over the world. And Ed, I don't know, I don't know, whatever. So, no. And to our host, Ed Wehmer, who started and built what is now Chicago's bank. Ed is not only a close partner of the Chicago Cubs, but a very, very good friend, and congratulations to you both. I also have some people here with me tonight I would like to acknowledge. I would like to acknowledge my assistant, Lorraine Swatley, who has worked with me for over 20 years, mainly keeping my business and frequently my personal life in order. Dennis Cullerton, who is my media strategist, as we say. So he helps me, we worked together for about 13 years. He helps me stay out of the media, and if the media say anything about me, it's Dennis's job to make sure at least half of it is true. I've also got a few friends from college here today. We went to University of Chicago. We had 4 years of a very cruel but fair undergraduate education. It took a lot of people to help each other stay sane through those 4 years. I'd like to give a special acknowledgement to my buddy Jim Gahn, without whom I would still be in freshman calculus. And my good friend Larry Berlin, who very, very foolishly offered me my first job. So, of course, the most important person with me here tonight is my incredible wife, Cece. Cece is a great doctor, a superlative mother, a terrific wife. And tonight I'm being inducted into the Junior Achievement and Chicago Hall of Fame. But without Cece, not only would I not be here, I don't think I'd be anywhere. Thank you. I love you. But the I got my pages out of order. But, see, I get all choked up, and then, so. Also, to be recognized tonight that aren't here are some of the great people I've worked with over the years, and there are obviously too many to name. With the Cubs, obviously, Crane Kenny and Theo Epstein, all the people that worked so hard for them, that worked so hard to get to win the games and to build the organization that we have. And then within Capital, a good friend of mine, Laura Elliott, and our CEO, John Dupre, who couldn't be with us tonight, but are so important to all the successes that I've had in my life. And finally, although they are not here tonight, I want to thank my parents. As you could see, I was born in Nebraska City, Nebraska, where my mom and dad lived in a little 2-bedroom house. My dad was the son of a carpenter. My mom grew up on a farm, and most of her life had no indoor plumbing. From these modest beginnings, they went on to found a company that became TD Ameritrade, and TD Ameritrade's market cap is now something like $26 billion. Which is really an incredible story, and I kind of know what you're thinking. You're thinking, with all that success, how come they couldn't have bought a camera to take a picture of their son? But ultimately, this kind of success is what junior achievement is all about. It's about the opportunity in America to follow your dream and create your own destiny. Through financial literacy programs and entrepreneurial courses, JA is working hard to create the next generation of business leaders. JA is also committed to the free enterprise system, which seems to me to be under increasing assault by those who either don't understand how wealth is created, or more disturbingly, would prefer that wealth is not created. As the great Milton Friedman, that's a USC guy, just kind of keeping the theme here, said that the record of history is absolutely clear, that there is no alternative way so far discovered of improving the lot of ordinary people that can hold a candle to the productive activities that are unleashed by the free enterprise system. So in closing, I would like to leave everyone, particularly the young people here, one final message, one final business lesson. Also in the trunk that my mom sent me, I found that in 1981, wearing these glasses, I convinced my loving but generally risk-averse mother to invest $1 in our junior achievement company. Here, certificate, oops, upside down, Marlene Ricketts, $1. Several months later, after our wildly successful run, we paid her back her $1. There were no dividends. There was no dividends. We were a little bit tight on that. Didn't have enough time. So I paid her back her $1. Well, I think the message for everyone here is always treat your investors well. If you treat your investors well, if you give them back their $1, they may invest again someday. And in this case, about 28 years later, I went back to my mother for a larger, kind of riskier, more high-profile investment. And because she was happy with her JA experience, I now have one of these. Thank you, and please support Junior Achievement.
Tom Ricketts, from the nerdy glasses to the bling. You've come full circle. Wonderful story. Thank you, Tom. All right. Our last student speaker is Christian M. Washington. Christian is a senior at Christ the King Jesuit College Prep in Chicago. Wintrust is a strong supporter of Christian's high school and their sister school, Cristo Rey. Christian's favorite subject in school is psychology. Christian is a very involved student, keeps busy with football, basketball, baseball, student council, and peer ministry. Christian currently interns at William Blair through Christ the King's corporate work study program. After high school, Christian plans to attend college and receive a bachelor's degree. So please help me in welcoming Christian Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. It is my honor to introduce Edward Wehmer, the founder, president, and CEO of Wintrust Financial Corporation. Mr. Wehmer and a small group of others from the community founded Wintrust in 1991 in a small storefront space with a folding table and a mobile phone the size of a small suitcase. Now based in Rosemont, he leads a Wintrust with almost 5,000 employees, 170 bank locations, and $33 billion in assets. Chicago's bank is the second largest bank based in Illinois and number 5 in local deposit market share. This feat of growth is impressive on its own, but even more so when considering that it was started by someone who did not know what he wanted to do. So, on his father's advice, he became an accountant. In his own words, because I would be paid to learn about all kinds of businesses and ask dumb questions. Mr. Wehmer graduated from Georgetown University, became a certified public accountant, and joined Ernst & Young. There, he joined the banking practice and spent much of his 20s guiding his bank clients through the wave of mergers and consolidations. From there, he joined River Forest Bancorp as Senior Vice President and Chief Financial Officer and President of his largest bank, Lincoln National Bank. But he always wanted to work closer to home, to find the right balance of work, life, and family. So he and a few friends and coworkers met one night, supposedly over a couple of beers and cigars, and developed a plan for a new type of community bank. Mr. Wehmer quit his job, found a location, set up a folding table delivered by his wife, Dorothy, and set to raising money. Lake Forest Bank and Trust, the first Wintrust community bank, opened in December 1991. From there, they replicated the model in other communities: Hinsdale, Wilmette, Libertyville, and Barrington. Within 5 years, they had 5 charter banks, 14 locations, and more than $700 million in assets. At 20 years, Mr. Wehmer and his team made it to the stated goal for Wintrust to be Chicago's bank. Wintrust now finds itself among iconic Chicago brands, many of whom are their partners: the Chicago Cubs and White Sox, DePaul, Northwestern, Marquette, and Loyola Universities, the Race to Mackinac, the Chicago Sky and Red Stars, the Chicago Auto Show and Flower and Garden Show. Almost everywhere you go in Chicagoland, you see Wintrust. But through that growth, Mr. Wehmer and Wintrust never lost sight of the fact that they were community bankers first. That means being involved in the communities. That means being involved in and giving back to the communities they serve. Across the area, you'll find a Wintrust employee in almost every nonprofit board, volunteering in almost every neighborhood, and working to make all of their communities better. In this, Mr. Wehmer leads by example. He previously served as the chairman of the board of Northwestern Lake Forest Hospital and currently serves on the board and on the audit committee of Northwestern Memorial Healthcare, and is the vice chairman for the Northwestern Memorial Healthcare Foundation. He is also a trustee for the Lurie Children's Hospital and Foundation. He sits on board of the Archdiocese of Chicago and is the vice chairman for its finance council. Mr. Wehmer is also a director of the Catholic Extension Society of America and a member of the Economic Club of Chicago, the Commercial Club of Chicago, and a past president of the Bankers Club. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Edward Wehmer to the stage.
Thank you, Christian. What a great voice, huh? There's a space for you in radio or TV with a voice like that, I'll tell you. Well, it's an honor to be here tonight, it's an honor for me to be with my fellow inductees. Susan, I hope your award this induction is not diluted by the fact that Tom and I are your fellow inductees. As I understand, Jamie Dimon and Jerry Reinsdorf couldn't make it, so. Anyway, congratulations to all of you for this honor. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to the group and to junior achievement and the future leaders of Chicago business. Our involvement in junior achievement just makes sense for us. As an organization built in and for the Chicago area, we are fully invested in the growth and development of our community. American business, Chicago business, needs more community-minded, innovative business leaders, needs more junior achievement alumni. Future Chicago and Chicago business rests firmly on their shoulders. We started Wintrust with a simple but contrary version. In the era dominated by the growth of big banks and big banks getting bigger, we wanted to start a community bank, one that was dedicated to the towns that we were in. Plenty of people told us we could or shouldn't do it, but I remember a poem that my 5th grade nun told me, Sister Seraphia. And it went like this, we'd always recite this, somebody scoffed, oh, he'll never do that. At least no one ever has done it. So he took off his coat, he took off his hat, the first thing he knew he'd begun it. Lift of his chin, bit of a grin, without any doubting or quit it, he started to sing as he tackled a thing that couldn't be done, and he did it. Friends, family, and neighbors shared our vision. Same or better products as the big banks, same or better delivery systems, and kill them with service. We always remember that your community is important. Your community does well, we do well. That's why you invest in the communities. Junior Achievement shares a similar struggle. At a time when our elected officials and media question capitalism, disparage the business community, JA dares to show young people across the area how business is a force for good, a force for growth, and a force for the better. JA also teaches that we live by a set of rules that govern our behavior, our ethics, and our business. We at Wintrust follow those rules too, but I had to put them in a rhyme. It's part of our culture. It's take the blame, share the fame, avoid the shame, and enjoy the game. I came up with that in the middle of the night, and my lovely wife, Dorothy, who I'll kick my coverage big time when I married you. And everybody will agree with that if they know her. Won't get much argument there. But if you think about it, to be a leader, you need to share the fame. It's not about you. As soon as you bring me, the word me, into the conversation, you abdicate your position as a leader. It can't be about you, it's got to be about the team, it's got to be about their well-being and the like. So you need to take the blame if something goes wrong. It's got to be your fault. Share the fame. It's got to be you push it down to the 5. Wintrust wouldn't be where it is because of me. It's because of the 5,000 people who are dedicated to what we do and how we do it. Avoid the shame. In this day and age, it's almost impossible to not run into situations where you are offered an alternative that may not be right. I look at what I call the 4 M's, and I would suggest that you do too, to determine if it's the right thing to do or not. You have to ask yourself first, what would your mentor think? Everybody has a mentor. What would they think if you did this? Second is, what would the media think if you did this? Thirdly, what would your mom think if you did it? And finally, what would your maker think if you did it? If you pass all 4 of those, you'll do that. You're making a good decision. And finally, enjoy the game. We all know life is too short. You can work your tail off and forget your family. I have 6 wonderful kids. And when we started Wintrust, it was all about quality of life. I was working 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. My kids were growing up, and opening in Lake Forest was the best thing I ever did. I cherished the moments when my children would come over after school, drop their bags in my office, bring their friends with them, and I was able to coach all of them. I was able to be part of their lives, and you really need to keep that in mind. You cannot always work because you can miss all the important things in life. So, brings us to the other half of, anyhow. I'm off script, as usual. I don't have any glasses. I got my glasses, Tom. I wear them. I didn't have them in high school. Nor did I have braces either. But listen, I feel like Pete Myers up here following these two. You know, Pete Myers would follow Michael Jordan. What am I going to say? So anyhow, it's quite an honor to be here this evening. I hope you enjoy it, your evening here. I can now sign my name, Ed Wehmer, H-O-F, which is exciting. So I hope you enjoy it here. Not a lot of people know, but I actually laid on my back and did these murals. I can talk to you about them later if you need to know what they are and how I did them, what my inspiration was. But enjoy the evening. Thank you very much. It's quite an honor to be here, so thank you.
Really inspirational there, Ed. Everybody's picking on Tom, geez. Well, thank you all for those inspiring stories and wise advice. Tonight we've celebrated those leaders who have left an indelible mark on the history of our city and changed it for the better. We've also had a chance to look at some of the future leaders, some of our students who were fabulous, and I'd like to thank the 3 student speakers for their talented and enthusiastic storytelling. Really wonderful job. I'd also like to thank our student ambassadors from Hester Junior High School in Franklin Park and our students from the Economics Awareness Council and Lamont High School that participated in our JA company programs. Weren't they great? And let's hear another round of applause for our 2019 inductees, Susan Crown, Tom Ricketts, and Ed Wehmer. All right. Before we conclude tonight's program, I'd like to mention 3 ways that everyone here can get involved and in a way that you can consider helping junior achievement. First, if you've been inspired to contribute this year, you can do it. JA's personal giving chair for the current school year has been named, and it is JA board member Jessica Cole, who is the president and CEO of Becker's Healthcare, one of Chicago's growing and most successful entrepreneurial companies. She is chairing the campaign and will assure that every donation is well invested in JA's youth. And so Jessica is here tonight, and we thank her for her generosity and leadership. Second, the nomination process for the 2020 Chicago Business Hall of Fame has started. Christian, you can apply. The past honorees are in the program book, and they are selected by the former inductees. So let's face it, JA and the Chicago Business Hall of Fame is truly a good news business story. So we are counting on tonight's honorees to join the selection committee so students in the Chicago area can continue to have spectacular business and community-minded role models. Anyone is eligible to submit a nomination and see the JA team tonight if you have any questions or ideas for a nomination. And third, if you haven't volunteered in a JA classroom or gotten your company involved, you've heard from our speakers what a big difference it can make to be engaged in JE. So to learn more, talk to anyone tonight who is here and works for JA. They'll have the staff ribbons on, so you'll see those folks around. Your help is truly needed so that we can continue to inspire the 620,000 Chicago area students this year through JA. So thank you everyone for attending tonight. Your support of the event shows that you believe in the power of education and the power of junior achievement. Now please join us for a celebration of our inductees and some fun with family and friends. There are food stations. It's literally a taste of Chicago throughout the hall. As you pursue the goodies, we will be turning around seats to fill in at the tables to accommodate your guests. In addition, there are highboy tables in every nook and cranny, so please enjoy the eating and the mingling. Have a great and fun night. Thanks, everybody.
luck to all the JA participants. It's a pleasure to be here. It's an awesome opportunity to see all the growth of all the kids that are here, and an awesome time, and good luck in the future.